There's been a lot of talk, maybe too much talk. This video is about walking, backwards walking.
And the Lawrence thing, I just don't buy in. Well, it just seems like to me. That's, you know. But Dan Orang is the best coach in the sport, fact. But
it's really, really important that you get to understand proper healthy hip function. And if you don't, you're in trouble, okay? It's a fast track to wrecking your back, your hips, your knees, and basically life sucking and not enjoying running. Now backward, we're gonna do 4 different videos. And at the end of this, you're gonna get how to use your hips, okay? And how this makes your whole life better and awesome. You're gonna radically decrease your risk of back pain, joint inflammation, hip pain, knee pain, injuries. You can totally transform your life, your movement, and really get to enjoy your running and experience running in life kind of as it should be, right? So backward walking, why do we do backward walking? It's a portal, it's an entry portal into making changes into your running that are healthy, and also it really, really helps you start to understand your hips, because it doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what I say, opinions absolutely don't matter. What matters is your experience and how you show up in the world and what this sort of means to you. Does it make sense? Like, who cares what anyone thinks? And once you have an understanding of hip function, and once you have an understanding of your base movement patterns, which we hope to do in these next sort of 4 videos, then you can go forward in life and say, oh, okay, I get it, I understand it, I have some intrinsic agency. So that's my wish for you is, it's, you know, forget about opinions and what matters and what doesn't matter and whose technique. It's just blah, 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 okay? What we want is real actionable results, and we want you moving better, feeling better, trusting your body, and opening up a whole world. So without much further ado, let's get into why we do backward walking. So one of the things that we'll talk about is a central generator pattern, which means basically when you're born, you're preloaded with software, okay? It just comes from magic or the universe or God or evolution, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's in you, right? So it's like buying a brand new computer and you power it up and there's software in there and everything's in place and everything runs and there's no conflicting hardware. For most of us, we got beaten up by life, we fell, we crashed, we had trauma, blah, 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 a whole lot of drama, we did wrong things, we tried to, I don't know, you know, everyone's got their story. You wore high heel shoes, you rode horses, you fell, you ice skated, you didn't exercise when you were a kid. So part of the backward walking is it works on that central generator pattern, your original software. You're standing here in front of me, no one taught you how to move and stand and crawl, okay? These patterns are in you, and we'll discuss the sort of the central crawling pattern, which is both crocodile, reptilian, okay, and baby, okay, and fish. So we have these movement patterns in us which we have to respect and unleash. Right, so backward walking, one of the things is it works on your central generator pattern. Second thing about backward walking is it opens up your peripheral vision. We're so front-facing in the world, we're looking at screens, we're small, our peripheral vision's got narrow. When our eyes go forward, our head goes forward, we kind of have this like sort of forward projecting persona about us, and our peripheral vision and our big picture narrows. Walking backwards really starts to open up your peripheral vision, which is probably going to save your life, okay? It stops you from having a side-on collision in an accident, okay? It's really, really good for your balance, your proprioception. As we get older, this gets more and more important, but given the state of our youth today, it's even really important for kids, okay? So that's that. In running, if you start backward walking, we can see the effects of backward walking in your running within about a week or 10 days, okay? And what happens is your foot starts to land closer to underneath your hip, which is a really, really good idea. The other thing about backward walking is, and why we're starting with backward walking is, one, because people have been a little mouthy about not understanding it, okay? But 2 is, when we backward walk, there's actually a whole lot of things that backward walking make awesome, okay? But one of the things about backward walking is that it takes the stress out of your hips, okay? I use it primarily as a prepping tool for the change that's coming in your running. So a lot of the time when your foot starts to land underneath your hip and your stride starts to extend out beneath you, we need to prepare you for that. So backward walking will, one, teach you how to do that, but also it teaches you range of motion in your toes, range of motion in your Achilles. So if you have modern running shoes with carbon plates and a big toe rocket, you typically don't bend your toes. And your feet can get really stiff and tight in those shoes because it's a hard platform hitting the ground. Your running mileage might even be increased, but the amount that you use your feet is decreased, right? So backward walking, especially barefoot, my soft toes, let me get back here so you can see, okay, is soft toes, heel down. And that pattern will appear in your running, and you're making yourself safe so you don't get Achilles injuries and plantar fascia injuries later, all right? So that's a really big deal. And what will show up in your running within 2 weeks is as you land, let's say you run, a lot of people land with their foot in front of them and you kind of caught behind your hips or you're sitting behind your foot. And it's actually very, very difficult to correct for a lot of people or with different cues. If you backward walk, okay, you're almost prioritizing foot behind hip, weight bearing. And what will happen is very, very quickly, your foot will shift from here to sort of here in your stance. So your hips move ahead of your feet. And it shows up very, very quickly. So someone like, I don't know, Dave Goggins, who's had a total medial knee reconstruction, but when he ran was sort of always behind his hips, backward walking would have totally changed his life, okay? So that's just on a structural point of view. The other thing is when you backwards walk, and you might even experience this, as you step back and walk, you tend to trust your bones and your muscles relax around your hips. So someone with hip injuries like a labrum tear, even bone stress reactions, you can find that backward walking can really, really improve your symptoms and make you feel a hell of a lot better. And if that's the case, then use that as a segment. The way I work and the way I sort of suggest you work or think about things is first learn to move in a way that doesn't hurt you and then strengthen that up. Whereas we have this paradigm where, oh, well, we'll just add strength and then hopefully all our problems go away, okay? It's kind of like throwing cash at a business. Your business needs to be good, otherwise it will fail. Okay, cash injections help in the short term, but not always, okay? So it's something along those lines. So let's move in a way that doesn't hurt. So for hip injuries and labrum tears, learning to sort of trust your body, trust your weight, it opens up. A lot of people have a lot of tension in their hips and it grabs, and then you're trying to strengthen your way out of tension, which is really frustrating. You're sort of lying on the foam roller and moving, mobilizing your hips and going nuts, and it's not working out for you. So that's another reason why backward walking really, really helps and opens up your hips. And if you find that, oh, walking backwards actually opens up my hips and quietens down my back and it feels better, then good for you, get involved, okay? Another reason backward walking works, because there are so many reasons why backward walking works, is it teaches you to not have an upper body that's disconnected from your lower body. So, and we start to create the central crawling pattern. So if I walk backwards properly, okay, which implies that my belly button faces my lead leg, which for many of you, you'll find very, very difficult. And why is that? Well, it's because your central generator patterns are suppressed with sitting too much flexion, the whole bang shoot, right? So as I step backwards, my belly button should point towards my front leg. My belly button should point towards my front leg. Notice how connected my torso is, okay? So if I do this from behind, notice how quiet my lower back is. You have to have that in your body. Okay, otherwise you're going to have no back and no hips left. You cannot run like this, okay, where my belly button's effectively pointing through the wrong leg with a hip drop and expect your knees, hips, and back to survive. It's just not going to happen. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not the bearer of bad news. I'm just explaining how the world is, okay? So by walking backwards, it's one of the easiest ways to learn this connected pattern. And my animated hips, your hips do a lot of things when you run. They go up and down, they go backward and forward, they rotate internal and external, and that's just your hip in your femur. Your pelvis does a total infinity loop dance on top of that. Okay, it's really, really complicated, and you want to animate that, and that'll be reflected up in your shoulders. So walking backwards is one of the quickest ways to start you getting used to the idea that, oh, my shoulders and my hips are connected, and it's really, really important to have the shoulder and hip connection. And in the next video, we'll do rope flow, which is really good a way of animating and get your shoulders off your hips so your hips can express themselves and do their job, okay? And when they do their job properly, they tend to not get hurt. And then I'll put a bit of an intro into this. I had a guy coming in with a labrum tear because he did some weird strength stuff, and I said, people I work with just don't get labrum tears. We just don't. So it's not a me problem. It's not you did something else. What is it that you've been doing? He's like, oh, all shameful. Okay. So if you use your hip problems, labrum tears just disappear. There's not part of your world. It's not part of my world. Okay. Anyway, so there we go. So that's backward walking, animated hips, animated shoulders, connected back, quiet back, protecting your back, changing your center of mass when you run. All of it just happens naturally. It just infuses into your running and your movement in your life like tea. Okay. And then once you have this sort of backward walking, open up peripheral vision, people come out of being like reactive, focused, sort of dialed in and you start going, oh, there's a bigger picture, and you have a sense of play and curiosity and neuroplasticity and a whole lot of other doorways open for you. How much backward walking must I do? Well, you need to do at least 5 minutes nonstop a day. If you can't, just do as much as you can. So just every now and again, step backwards walking. I'll often just walk forwards and backwards. In fact, I'll use a weight with weights over my head, and I'll practice happy hip hack and backward walking, okay, which is a really, really good idea. Happy hip hack, there is a video. As you step, it helps you get your perfect stepping pattern and your perfect crawling patterns in one sort of move without thinking too much. So if you're really having a hard time with your belly button pointing towards your front leg as you walk, remember this belly button pointing towards away from your front leg is how a grizzly bear would walk. And people that have that stuck hip pattern tend to walk this way, and then because you want to conform with looking normal, you'll fix it. And that action of your upper body rotating and your lower body will wreck your back and your hips and your knees and all of the above, or one of the above. So don't do it. Okay, so no grizzly bear. Belly button to lead leg, belly button to lead leg. If you really battle and you find that difficult, happy hip hack is stepping belly button towards lead leg. These are your central, it's your birthright, it's your central generator patterns. It's how you evolve to move. If you don't respect it, you can think whatever you think of me, and you can have any strong opinions about how you move and don't move, but you don't respect the way you are authentically designed to move. Kind of all the pain and misery and joint pain that you get in your life that's on you. Okay, so not to be a Debbie Downer, but let's move well, let's understand our central patterns, and I promise you these 4 videos will absolutely change your life. So that's video number 1. Next up is flow rope.